Attention Northwest Arkansas businesses and talent seekers. Introducing OnboardNWA.com, your hyperlocal job board crafted for our unique community. Struggling to find the perfect match for your job openings? Onboard NWA simplifies the hiring process, connecting you with the region's top talent through tailored talent matching solutions. Whether you're an employer seeking expertise or a professional looking for your next opportunity, Onboard NWA is here for you. Discover more at onboardnwa.com, and let's build the future of Northwest Arkansas together.
It's time for another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas, the podcast covering the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in general here in the Ozarks. Whether you are considering a move to this area or trying to learn more about the place you call home, we've got something special for you. Here's our host, Randy Wilburn.
Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and this is a unique episode to say the least. I'm sitting here with Ben Clark, who is the owner, founder of Be Unlimited, and we actually sat down and we were just sitting here figuring it out almost a year to the date that we are recording this podcast. This podcast is actually being recorded on March 1st, 2021. And we actually sat down on March 3rd, 2020, right before the pandemic hit and before everything just changed in our universes, to the two of us, and as well as your universe, I'm sure. So I'm excited to bring Ben back because originally we were going to put this episode out, but there were so many changes happening. And we said, you know what, when the time is right, let's sit down, let's have another conversation, find out where things are, because so much has changed in the last 12 months, for as I know it has for you, the listener. It has for me, as it has for Ben. So without further ado, I want to welcome Ben Clark back to the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast, even though those listening to this episode have not heard him before because the first episode never got released. And we are going to release that episode because I want you to hear it, and you can be your own judge about the changes that have taken place over the short term and the long term. But without further ado, Ben Clark, how are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on this podcast again.
Absolutely, man.
Randy,
Absolutely.
it's crazy that it's been a year exactly, almost. I mean, just like almost to the day.
Yeah. And a lot has happened for you. I mean, we were just talking about that. So much has happened in that short period of time. And I mean, a year is a blip on the radar screen, right? I mean, we're both in our 50s, so you know, we like to slow the years down if we can.
If we can. They only seem like they go faster and faster.
Exactly. But man, I would love to catch up and let us know, you know, what's been going on in the last year for you and for Be Unlimited and some of the changes that you've experienced in your organization.
Wow. Well, a lot's happened in this last year. I mean, because of COVID and just all the restrictions that were put out, and with all the universities closing down. As if you go back and you listen to the first podcast, you'll know that we're a university-based licensed apparel company that do custom apparel for universities all across the United States, based here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And we've grown significantly over the years. And so this we had a very, I think a good thing is that we have a really good, stable foundation in our business that helped us sustain through this last year. We're still small enough we were able to pivot there at the beginning and kind of figure out what we were going to do. We had to make some quick reactions. I mean, just like most businesses, we had to do some layoffs because, I mean, business just turned off one day with all the universities shutting down. I'll never forget talking to a friend at the University of Arkansas, and he said, "Oh, the university will never shut down." I was thinking, you know, take the act of the governor to shut the university down. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, the governor shuts the university down. And So I was just like, oh my goodness, you know, what do we do? And this is before any of the PPP had been announced or any of this. And so we we reacted really quickly and swiftly as far as what we needed to do. We started thinking, okay, who is rowing the boat right now at Be Unlimited? Who is actually keeping it afloat and who's not? We've got to because one thing we knew is that if we're going to survive this for everybody, we've got to keep the boat afloat. We've just got to keep the boat afloat. And so as long as the boat's afloat, then people can have something they can come back to, I guess. And so that was one of the hardest, most grueling times I think of my life, is having to go through and meet with the exec team and go, y'all, our sales have been turned off. I mean, we have no money. I mean, sales aren't coming in. And so we've got to figure out what to do. We're going to have to lay people off. And we're like, lay people off? I mean, we've been growing, constantly hiring, and just on this upward hiring mode for so long. It was just like a new concept of thinking, whoa, you mean we've got to go through here and cut people's names? And said, no, we're not cutting people's names because everyone here is supposed to be here, but we're going to cut positions. And so we went through and go, okay, what position in here at Be Unlimited can we eliminate that's not really rowing the boat and making, that keeps us sustainable? Yeah. And so with a lot of tears, it was one of the hardest meetings I think I've ever gone through, but it was, we had to make a lot of cuts. And then after we made those cuts, then lo and behold, the government comes in and says, hey, we've got this PPP that we want to help businesses be able to keep their employees,
Right.
So then we were able to hire back, people because of that PPP on that first round, which was a saving grace for us as a company of not having to lay everybody off, I guess, and continue to sustain. And it helped us to kind of re-energize us and helped us learn how to pivot. And we instantly started making masks here at Be Unlimited. Before you could get your hands on masks there at the beginning, we were cutting up T-shirts and just making masks is all we were doing. We had long assembly lines of people just making masks and making as many as we possibly could.
Yeah.
While the supply was down in America and you had a hard time finding them, now there's no need for us to do that because it was really difficult and really not cost effective at all, cutting up T-shirts and making masks. But that's what we did to be able to sustain our employees here and just be able to stay busy and whatnot. Half our staff went home and worked from home. The other half, our production staff, you can't work from home if you're to do production,
right.
Like making masks and things like that. So they had to come up here. So we had to do what every other production or manufacturing company had to do is we had to make some strict protocols and take people's temperatures and make everybody wear masks and things like that. And spread out. Everybody had to work distance from each other and just kind of do that. And so we're pretty fortunate. I mean, we did have some COVID outbreaks here, but not very many. And so we were very fortunate to jump on the bandwagon of doing things right, I guess, there at the very beginning, which helped sustain a lot of COVID from spreading here in our facility. People here got it, but they got it mainly from just their own family members or somebody else in their family and their household got it. And so they ended up getting it too. So they ended up staying away until they cleared it. But but through that, just like with everything, when something catastrophic like this happens, it makes you rethink kind of what you're doing, what your purpose is, what your significance is. Am I doing the right thing? From the very top, from me owning the company to people that are working hourly, kind of help them kind of reassess, is this what I want to do? Is this where I'm supposed to be? I saw a lot of that happening too, as well. And so we've had a lot of changes happen this last year that I would have never expected a year ago. Last time we spoke, here comes our new CEO right now and into our meeting space, but I want to go ahead and share this here. Let me see. Because a year ago, if you listen to me and Randy talk, one of the things that he used this a lot, and he has it on he's still wearing the bracelet, I wore the bracelet for a long time. It's just being 1% better.
Right.
And
I love that.
They made some shirts here at Be Unlimited saying 1%. And that's it. And really it's just about getting that one, let's not focus on what we're doing as far as changing the world, but let's just focus on getting 1% better every day right now, because we've kind of hit rock bottom all of a sudden, and we just need to focus on getting that 1% better. So we really encourage that. After I met with Randy a year ago, throughout all our staff is, hey, let's just do that 1%. If everybody can just do that 1%, from where we're at right now, we will sustain and we will get better and we will come back, stronger than ever. So,
wow.
So we really pushed that across. And Kevin Wassmiller just walked in here with a couple of shirts saying 1%.
I love
with
that.
our logo on there because it's all because of Randy and what he left us and the blessing that he left us with that a year ago. And it's such a great encouragement, actually. So,
well, good. I'm glad. That really makes me feel good because I give those to all the guests. So whoever is a guest on the podcast gets a T-shirt that says get 1% better every day. And I got that from, of course, there's nothing new under the sun. I got that from James Clear, Atomic Habits. And it's just that, that approach to just consistently improving and getting better. And, don't worry about where you are, worry about where you're going. And, focus on that and that, that whole 1% better. That's my mantra. I use it every day. I try to live by that. And I'm glad to hear that it was a motivating force for you guys. So that's exciting.
Gosh. Yeah. I literally, there was not a day that I did not come into the office without that bracelet that you gave me on my wrist, just to remind myself that daily and to remind the people that I was around here at Be Unlimited.
Yeah.
Hey, let's just keep getting 1% better.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Good.
I love that. So I have a question for you because a lot of people may not know you guys have been an Inc. 5000 firm. You guys have been
we were 4 years in a row, 5 years in a row, but I guess COVID kind of shot that down.
Yeah. So what was that? I mean, just becoming that, right? Because for a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs, that's kind of like the holy grail of acceptance and acknowledgement that what you're doing is working and it's right. And I know that I've been involved. I was a part of an Inc. At the time, it was Inc. 500 before they expanded it. So, I worked with Mark Zweig, who and he had taken the management consulting firm that we were a part of to the Inc. 500 list twice in a row. And that was a big deal back in the day. Yeah. And so you think now they've expanded it. They've expanded the categories. They've done all of that. And I'm just curious to know, at any point, did getting that acknowledgement, did it cause you to kind of relax any in terms of, okay, we've gotten this award, so we're there, or was there still something?
I think that award only for us really just gave us validation it helped us validate ourselves to the community and to nationally, like, hey, this is what we're doing. And just to help other people understand, hey, there's something really special happening down here in South Fayetteville.
Yeah.
And it's happening and no one really knows, No one, I mean, like, we haven't had a sign out front. We've now got one on order, by the way, but we haven't had a sign out front, the last 5 years. And people still wonder, what's that building?
I know. You're kind of nestled between the Washington County Detention Center and Tep Tai.
I know, right?
So you're like, exactly. So if anybody asks me, where are they located? I'm like, well, they're kind of, where Tep Tai is and the Washington County Detention Center. They're somewhere right in between there.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
It's really hard because, really, most of our business is all done online and through e-commerce stores, through universities across the United States. And so even though we're heavily involved in the University of Arkansas, we're just as involved in all these other universities across the United States as well. And so
I always have to tell people, because people have because I'm always like that too. I have nervous hands and I'm always knocking the table. So, but no, you're fine. So, good. So yeah, no, that to me is, that's an interesting part of it. And again, a lot of times there are companies like yours all over the place that people don't realize how big of an organization it is in terms of size, in terms of scope and what you do. And, a lot of times people don't realize they're right under your nose. They're right there.
Yeah. So that Inc. 5000 was just a validation for us, and just to say, hey, and then there was also an encouragement to all the hard work that I guess that everyone's putting in, because it's not about me. It's really about everyone here. It doesn't matter what point they're touching the shirt or the customer, but it's just, I want them to be acknowledged for all the hard work that they're putting in, and show them, hey, what we're doing, we're growing and we're making a difference. So,
yeah, no, well, and I love that part of it, because again, I think there are a couple of other Inc. 5000 firms here in Northwest Arkansas. And I think this area is very fertile for growth. And I would be curious to know what your thoughts are now that we are on, I won't say that we're on the other side of the pandemic, but we're getting there and we're slowly evolving. What are your thoughts for Northwest Arkansas as a whole in terms of being a solid and fertile ground for businesses to get started and to grow?
Oh, gosh. I think Northwest Arkansas by far is one of the best areas in the United States to be at.
Right.
If you're starting a company or if you're growing a company. And I mean, we could really I could have Be Unlimited pretty much anywhere in the United States. And there's no way I would ever want to move from this area because it's just, there's the creativity, the workforce, the connections, the networking, we just love the area itself, just being nestled here in the Ozark Mountains.
Yeah.
The school districts, and it just goes on and on. I mean, the trails and the restaurants. When I go to these other cities that are the same size as this area in Northwest Arkansas, it's funny how they don't have the representation of all the different places in the world that Northwest Arkansas does with the restaurants. I mean, you literally can go to any piece of the world here in Northwest Arkansas at any restaurant because, I mean, there's so much of a great representation of the whole world here.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Yeah. As I've said, it's a melting pot before, and it really is, of different taste and smells and sights. So, I mean, I think that's huge. Can you talk a little bit about the transformation that Be Unlimited has taken this past year? Because it's not normal, I think, for firms to do what you've done and just in the past year alone with the and I don't know, you've called it different things, but you've grown. Mm-hmm. And you're different now, and you even spend some time away from here. You're not always here in Northwest Arkansas now. Would you be able to just kind of enlighten us about that experience?
I mean, so again, I really think I really put a lot of this with COVID, or just having some sort of, we had a kind of a stake driven in the ground, and it kind of made us kind of reevaluate and think through what we're doing as individually here at Be Unlimited. And for myself, as we've grown organically, we've been looking at some different acquisitions, and we came across one that we were wanting to acquire, and it turned into more of a merger. And with a merger comes a partner, and I've never had a partner before, but it's, so I was thinking, I guess. And so I started thinking about that. And then he said, Hey, how about if I buy into the company too as well? Not just merge, but, because we were doing a pretty much like a fold-in merger where they were just kind of coming in, and we had the executive team and the people in place to be able to kind of take on their sales. And so, which allowed me to be able to kind of live in two places down in Florida. I live down in Florida and here both now with my business partner. He lives down there too as well. So it's great that we kind of get to know each other a little bit more. And
they were based down there?
They were based in Oxford, Mississippi, but he was living in Florida.
In Florida. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, and me and Christine always wanted to kind of, our dream was to have a place down there. I never thought I'd have a place down there this soon, especially during COVID, which you'd never think these opportunities would come during kind of catastrophic times, but it did. And it kind of opened the gate up, and it's opened the gate up actually for a lot of me and my other competitors some other ones have become friends now, and we talk, and we've kind of opened the doors to each other to have these kind of conversations, it's been interesting. And it's just, or even help each other out, even if we don't do anything, which it's been pretty cool to seeing some of those things develop too as well.
Well, and since you brought that up, and it's something that I've been hearing over and over again, is that more companies now are looking for ways to collaborate than to compete against each other, right? And so I'm seeing that as a theme throughout small business. And I have tried to figure out ways to collaborate with other people that might do something similar to what I do. So like, for instance, I've talked to people locally that do podcasting. I'm like, we should figure out how we can do something together. And I can share what you're doing. You can share what I'm doing, and kind of figure out, go from there. Not that we're starting a business together, but we're figuring out ways to work together, because I think that you're stronger when numbers. But I also think that great minds, when you're able to connect the dots with, different people from different organizations with different mindsets and ideas, you want to be in rooms where people that are even smarter than you are in. So,
Randy, this kind of started about 3 years ago for us, which kind of set the groundwork for COVID. It's kind of funny, but we started a thing called Origins. It's a water-based screen printing academy here at Be Unlimited, where we invited our competitors to come in to Be Unlimited in July for a week and just learn how to print with water-based inks, because we feel so strongly about just the effects on our world that printing with plastisol does compared to printing with water-based inks. And so it's just like with plastic bags or plastic straws and all that, it's water-based inks are so much better for the environment than plastisol inks are. So in this region of the United States, you don't see very much water-based inks being printed. So we decided to invite people into our building during our slowest week of the year and train others how to print with water-based inks and try to encourage that in our industry more and more. People thought at the time, I'll never forget, people were asking, why are you asking your competitors to come in and see this competitive edge that you have, on them? And it was a good question. I was sitting there thinking and worried about it myself, thinking, why am I asking my competitors to come in into our facility, see everything we're doing, and teach them how to do it just like we do it,
That's funny.
But I really felt down deep in my heart that it was the right thing to do, and that if I really wanted to leave a legacy and significance on this world, or, that I needed to do that. And so so I just went ahead. I thought, well, we'll do it 1 year and see what happens. We kind of limited, and we kind of were careful about who we invited. It's kind of an invitation only. I was real careful about not just inviting someone that was in direct competition with me, maybe at that first year. But honestly, what I learned from that is that, hey, competition y'all can actually be allies and really help each other. And we only gain more business from it because you'd have your competition would call you and say, hey, we've got this big customer that we're doing this for. We don't have the capacity to do, print all this stuff. Can y'all take on part of this? And before you know it, and we're doing vice versa. We've got, our peak time of printing is September and October, where we don't want to be able to staff for those whole 2 months, the whole year. So we, so it's nice to know these other mass producing screen printers that we have a good, building these relationships with, that we can call and say, hey, can y'all take on some of this? So, everything runs smoothly, and we know that they can do it right, and they can do it the same way we are doing it because they've been into our facility and we've trained them. So, I mean, it's been pretty incredible. So we continued to do that for 3 years. And then I think with COVID, just kind of, hey, it's okay to be friends with your competition. It's not the end of the world. I mean, you kind of all got your own everyone has their niche. And plus, as big as we've gotten, we still are only a crumb. I mean, just a crumb on the table, And so so there's so much room for us to grow, and there's so much room for our competition to grow, that it's not going to hurt anybody, you know? So
what, since you brought that up, since you brought the crumbs on the table, because I think about, I've met a bunch of people, Johnny Cupcakes, which is a kind of a boutique shop up in Boston, and he's got a couple of other locations that he has sold T-shirts out. He doesn't sell cupcakes; he sells T-shirts, really cool T-shirts, by the way. And then there's another really big company up in the Boston area, Life is Good.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
And those guys, their story was great because, they just kind of started, they basically went out to swap meets and wherever they could sell a T-shirt.
Started in the back of their trunk. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if I talked about this the last time, but I had a burgeoning T-shirt career back in college. When I went to Howard University, we used to, when I was there from I'm dating myself now, but 87 to 1991. And we used to have a T-shirt that was really popular on historically Black colleges and university campuses. And it was called, "It's a Black Thing You Wouldn't Understand." And so every historically Black college, FAMU, North Carolina A&T, Spelman, Morehouse, Howard, we all had our version of it. And then I came up with another T-shirt. I didn't come up with that, but I came up with a T-shirt that I did because I kind of dipped my toe in the water of creating T-shirts, called "Late Night at Howard University." And it was the top 10 lies. It was a take on David Letterman's top 10.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we did "Late Night at Howard University, top 10 lies. And there were just these, every school has stuff that, people talk about, or, folklore or whatever, that everybody's like, oh, that's a lie, or that's, and so we had a bunch of different things that, were not true that people would say all the time. And so at the time that I was there, I had the top 10, and I actually sold 10,000 units of that T-shirt. And about 8-month period. And it was huge.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was huge. Because I mean, I'm in school, right?
Yeah. Oh
so
my gosh. Yeah.
I'm waiting tables.
It's helping you pay for your college.
It's helping pay for everything. I mean, I was on scholarship, but still, I mean, I was out there hustling and 10,000 units. Yeah.
You're still paying money.
Exactly. So it was a big deal. And it was one of the most successful t-shirts in 88, 89. And we sold it around our homecoming and a bunch of other stuff. But it kind of awoken me to the possibilities, right? Now, I never went on to do that, but I did it for a while and it was a lot of fun selling t-shirts, but I'm leading up to something. Nowadays, it's a lot easier if somebody wants to, get a t-shirt business started, actually. Yeah. You've got Printful and Printfully and all these other drop shipping companies where you can either come up with some really great designs, share them with a company that will then drop ship them for you to whoever wants to order them. And so there's always going to be new opportunities out there. What advice would you have for somebody that's trying to maybe leverage that? And I know it's a little different.
I think right now is whenever there's chaos and all this stuff going on in the world, I feel like it's a great time to start a business, for one, just any business. But and if you wanted to start a t-shirt company, I think that's a great time to start a t-shirt company. I mean, one is that you can be whoever you want to be, and you can pivot and you can change and morph to whatever the need is. And there's so many. For the first 10 years here, we didn't have any print equipment. Actually, I farmed it all out. Right. So it was, we were a printing company that didn't print, pretty much. I mean, it was funny, but that's really the case. I mean, we contracted everything out, and then it was because our contractors couldn't meet our need or fulfill, the timeliness or the quality and things that we were really pressing for, or the price and things like that. I mean, that's when it forced us into buying our own equipment. And then we slowly became a huge press operating facility. Right. But until then, we farmed it out and just grew slow. I mean, it's just me and an artist really at one point. So, and then we farmed out everything else. And really I could have farmed out the artwork too as well. So, because I'm not a designer and I'm not a printer. Right. But I do love textile. I love color. I love design, and I love to meet people. I love to talk to people. I want Randy to be one of my best friends. I hope he feels the same way. So I just, ever since I met him a year ago, so I think right now is a good time, and definitely with all the platforms that there are out there that there never was back in the day. I mean, you Shopify. You can easily build your own store. It's and insane. Everyone has their own network. It's really more about distribution and what, I mean, there's a lot of people that have a great idea, but they just don't have a good distribution, or there's people that have a poor idea and they get into Walmart and they have the best, they have the best distribution in the world. So it's going to sell, so exactly. So it's really about just, how you're going to distribute it, how you're going to get the word out, how's your website, whose hands it's getting into, and how do you get it there? How do you get it in those email boxes and things like that? So,
I mean, I know women on Etsy that sell they'll sell, really vintage, not vintage, but, limited runs of certain designs that I think are really cool. And the thing that I've noticed, because you can easily stand up a shop on Facebook or a bunch of other sites to kind of get the word out. So you don't have to create even your own website. Right. You can stand up. No. You can stand up a shop on Facebook and, say you have a couple of really great ideas, or somebody has seen a t-shirt that you had printed up. Because one of the things I've looked at, and even I worked out a deal with you guys where we were raising money. And I did my I Am Northwest Arkansas t-shirt for you guys for a while. And I don't know what was raised, but I know that I even thought about, man, I could put my t-shirts out there. And a lot of people have asked me for the Get 1% Better t-shirt, because they're like, man, that's a great t-shirt. And I was like, yeah, I should put more of those out. And of course, I'm only one person, and I've had them printed up. And what I thought it would be easier to just go ahead and just have it just drop ship so that anybody could order them, and if they wanted it, period. So there's always options out there for people to consider with regard to that. So I think that's definitely an opportunity that some people have. And the other thing is that the only real cost to getting that started is you coming up with a great design, and then maybe a little bit of money with some Facebook ads, and then just go from there and see if there's a market. And the market will tell you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Right away.
For sure.
So, yeah. But I mean, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So listen, I want to ask you about this because this is something that you and I talked about just a little bit. We haven't really dabbled into this. I mean, you're 56, I'm 51. And I know that for you, I mean, one of the things that you're thinking about is, and you mentioned the word legacy earlier. And I know there's a lot of people that are in midlife and middle age, and I'm trying to be more intentional about having this conversation with certain guests that I have on the show just to kind of talk about it because I think it's interesting. But what are you hoping for the next 15 or 20 years in terms of what you're able to do? And granted, you have a platform that you can build off of, right? Not everybody has that, but you know, at this point in time, there's still a lot of gas on the tanks, if you will,
absolutely,
or tread on the tires. What are you hoping to be?
So
able
I mean,
to
now
do?
for me, it's more about significance, leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
Just about helping others. Really, I love helping startup businesses and things like that. So if you're listening and you're thinking about starting up, or maybe you're in the startup phase, or you've already gotten through that and you're almost at 1 million, whatever. It's like, if you want to reach out to me and talk to me, I'd be more than happy to. But because I remember all those stages in my business very well and the struggles we had, and, you know, I'd love to encourage you. But I mean, really, literally, I think the books I'm reading now are about the second half, you know, which is funny. It's like, I've been stuck in the first half for a long time,
right?
Longer probably than most, honestly, because my workforce is in their 20s. You know, I'm right here I work with university students, and so I kind of mirror off them the way I act, and just, I don't know. It's been crazy. I feel like I've lived in my 20s over and over and over and over and over and over again. And now all of a sudden I find myself in my 50s and going, whoa, I'm in my 50s. And like, I'm looking around, and I bought a house down in Florida, and I'm looking and I'm meeting neighbors. I'm going, wait, I don't even know how to interact with people in my 50s. And I guess, I mean, literally one of my goals this year on my top 10 goals is like hang around more people in my 50s. I mean, like really, and just kind of, you know, or even find friends in their 70s to know, like, when I'm 56, 15 years, I'll be 70.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, whoa, I need to know how to be 70 good, you know? And like, who am I seeing in their 70s that are good, you know? And so for me personally, I'm sitting there looking at these people going, wow, I really like the way they look, or the way they're pouring into others, and they're doing this, and they're, you know, they're living life with significance and purpose. And I'm like, I want to be that person. You know, I want to be active. I want to be on the boat. I still want to be snow skiing. I want to be doing things, you know? Yeah. And so, I don't want to be on a couch with a bag of potato chips, you know, just wasting my life away.
Watching Family Guy.
Yeah. Watching Family Guy. Yeah. I can't ever imagine doing that. And so I've never been, if you know me, you know that I don't watch TV, you know? And so very rarely anyway, but I have TVs, but I don't watch TV really. But also I just, you know, I want to live life with significance and just continue to pour into others, younger and older, really in my same age. And I think that you're asking me kind of what I'm looking at for the next 15 years. I mean, the books I'm reading is, I think the one book I'm reading right now from a guy named Bob Buford.
Yeah.
Halftime.
Yeah.
So I'm going through
an amazing book. He just died a couple of years ago. I think we were talking about that recently. So
really, I just really love that book. And it's just like, it's really helped. Each chapter is kind of good. It's got good questions at the end. It's short, you know, it's just short chapters, but I'm telling you, if you're 45 to, you know, then you need to probably get that book and read it. I think it's very, very helpful. But no, those are the kind of things that I'm looking at. I'm not looking at like retiring. I've never thought about retirement. I actually joked it to my wife one time about like, maybe I should just sell Be Unlimited and retire. And she's like, what are you going to do?
Right.
No, I'm like, just, you know, retire.
Right.
And she's like, no, you're going to work. I'm like, and she pointed her finger at me like, you're going to work. I mean, what do you mean I'm going to work? I mean, we could just like live on the, you know, the money we made on the business or something. She's like, no, you're going to work. I'm thinking, and she wasn't being that wife, like, you're going to work because I want you to work. She's saying that she knows me. She knows that I love work. I love what I do. I love getting up in the morning. I love talking to people. And she's like, you're right. I am going to work. I'm like, what am I don't know. I've never been a person to live. I've never even thought about retirement. Just kind of crossed my mind, and just was a conversation we had. And I thought, well, you really set off a light bulb right now for me, because I'm never going to stop, you know? And so, just what I want to continue doing. I want to make sure that everything I do now is just significant and purposeful, And so those are the things that really drive me right now. So
I love that. Yeah, I've told the story before, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but my grandfather got into his dream career at the age of 54 and then worked it for another 29 years. So he only stopped when we took his license away from him because he was driving into New York City every day to go to work at the United Nations, covering news there at the United Nations. And we knew that he couldn't see as well. And it was just a matter of time before the New Jersey Division of Motor Vehicles was going to take his license away. So we kind of got in between that because we didn't know how he was getting to work every day because he was just getting there. We figured, he gets in the car, and our joke was that, Jesus would get in and sit him over to the passenger side and just drive him to work every day. And that was the running joke. Then after a while, we were like, no, we probably need to take his license. And we did. And within a year, he had a stroke. And then, and I think the challenge was always, and he even said it, I think when he was like 85, he was like, yeah, that why is just not there anymore because he's not, going to work. And so I've lived with that for a long period of time, but I never really reflected on it until recently. And I think a lot of it was once I turned 50, I realized, wow, okay. So yeah, I still got a lot of gas in the tank, a lot of tread on the tire, whatever analogy you want to use, you want to make the most of it and just keep going until you can't go any longer. So, there's something to be said for that. So I'll be able to take vacations. I'll be able to do all that stuff and live a full life. But, I've never been excited about just sitting on a beach day in and day out.
Oh yeah,
for
no,
the rest
not
of
me.
my life.
Even though I've got a house down in Florida.
Even if you live near on the beach.
When I'm down in Florida, you're going to meet me. If you see me, you're going to see me at a coffee house with 20 other guys talking about business, talking about just a lot of creativity happening down there. And it's fun to be down there doing that too, as well. Just like here in Northwest Arkansas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, man, this has been great. I appreciate you giving us a glimpse into, what life has been like over the last year. I'll let everybody listening to this be the judge of the original episode. We'll put that out so that people can check it out. And then you can hear what things were like back in March 3rd, 2020. And then hear from Ben now and kind of check in and see what's going on. So
it'll be interesting for me to hear that too as well, I think.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you'll like it. So what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Honestly, the best way to get in contact with me is through either through Instagram. Honestly, it's become such a great way to contact people. It's Ben_R_Clark. If you want to look me up that way, or you can look me up. You can just email me at ben.clark@b-unlimited.com. Those are two good ways to get a hold of me. But honestly, sometimes the social media is taken over.
Oh, it is.
And
it is.
My email's gotten so full that it's almost ridiculous and it gets messy. And so it's just real hard to kind of comb through.
I actually default to Instagram before I actually check my email.
Yeah.
So, and I respond back to people. People are like, oh my God, you responded back so quickly. And I'm like, yeah, well, I checked this. So, I mean, to me, it's like, if you're going to be social, be social. Yeah, if you're just going to have a site and not check it, but once every couple of weeks, then people are now responding or asking me business questions or seeing if I can do some business with them. So I'm like, I've got it. You have to check.
LinkedIn has become kind of a mess too, as well, for me, as far as my inbox.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
But Instagram is good because I feel like I see who's requesting, any like who's sending a message. You can see that, so I keep it pretty open.
It's the best of both worlds because you can connect and communicate with people, but it's also, I'm a very visual person, so I enjoy that aspect of Instagram. So
me too.
That's why I really like it. I mean, Twitter's cool and I spend time there, but Instagram is just on another level.
And now we're both kind of playing around with Clubhouse,
right?
Which is
yes,
fun.
Exactly. Yeah. So, speaking of which, Clubhouse, we'll have to. One thing that I'm going to mention and that we're going to put out there in the coming weeks and months is that I'm going to try to connect with Ben and some other business leaders and maybe do a regular Northwest Arkansas Clubhouse room. And for those of the uninitiated that are listening to this asking, well, what is Clubhouse? And it's not the thing in your backyard. It's actually an app. Right now, it's an iOS app, so it's only available on the iPhone, but it's soon to be coming for the Android. Once that does, it's going to be a game changer. But it's an app that lets you basically create and moderate rooms where you can have discussions and share ideas. So not unlike you listening to this podcast of Ben and I talking, you could also log into Clubhouse and say if Ben and I and 5 other small business owners in Northwest Arkansas. We're sitting around chopping it up, talking about business, talking about life, talking about, new ideas. That's essentially what Clubhouse allows you to do. So if you log in now to Clubhouse, and if anybody listening to this needs an invitation, I have a huge number of invites to invite you to Clubhouse. You can't just join. You have to be invited. And once you're invited, you're in, and then you can invite other people. So
yeah, same here. So you could ask me as well. But
yeah. So please do that. And I've connected with Ben on Clubhouse, but we're going to just keep an eye out. I'll be posting some stuff on social media in the near future from I Am Northwest Arkansas, just mentioning that we're going to be doing some special Northwest Arkansas Clubhouse rooms for small business and, just sharing ideas. So, it is, as I've always learned, sharing is caring. So I certainly want to do that for you, the listener here. And I know a lot of you are coming here to listen to this podcast for different things. Some of you want to learn about the area. Some of you want to learn about the people in the area. Some of you want to learn about a lot of the different programs and a lot of the different facilities and organizations. So, we talk about a lot of different things, and that's why we focus on the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in the Ozarks. And that's why I appreciate you guys so much for being patient with all of the different programs that we bring on here, because we want to bring you the highest quality guests, the highest quality conversations that you'll find in Northwest Arkansas. So, Ben, thank you so much for joining me once again, for allowing us to rewind and bring this back and do another robust episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. Appreciate you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, there you have it. Another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. To learn more about us or to read or download the show notes from today's episode, visit iamnorthwestarkansas.com. You can also listen to this podcast and sign up for our free newsletter to keep up with us in all things NWA. Sign up today. You can subscribe to the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast wherever you listen to it, and please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Our podcast comes out every Monday, rain or shine. And that's all I have for you this week. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and we'll see you back here next week for a new episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. Peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. Check us out each and every week, available anywhere that great podcasts can be found. For show notes or more information on becoming a guest, visit iamnorthwestarkansas.com. We'll see you next week on I Am Northwest Arkansas.